everyone, welcome back to this channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to explain what variable is across all four programming languages we are using. Now, variable is one of the essential concepts of programming language that we need to understand, because there is no way you won't be using variable when you are writing your program. So I'm going to be doing these things step by step so that for us to be able to follow along. And for those who don't have a PC, check the last video that I uploaded. There is a link to a tools that you can use, a online tools that you can use for all these four programming languages we are using. So let's get into it. So the last tutorial, I renamed the folder to lesson 1 so that I want it to be organized. And I'm going to give a link to this project in my a GitHub link to this project in this video, so you check the description below. So in today's video, like I said, it's going to be lesson 2. So I need to start creating my files. So I'm going to be using variable. Remember the first one we did, I use overview. So this one I'm going to be using variable. That is a Python file. The next one. Now immediately you create a Java project. Remember, it's going to automatically grab the folder link, folder path as the package. So that's the reason you are seeing package to be lesson 2. Then the name of the class is going to be the file name, just like we have it in this place too. As you can see, lesson 1. Then the file name is overview, just like that. So I'm going to proceed. Variable.js, that is our JavaScript. Then variable.cpp, that is C++. So now let's actually start from a Python file. Now what is variable? Now variable can just be seen as a container where you can put some item inside. Now variable is more or less like a placeholder that is holding a certain value for you. Just like, for instance, let's say I have just for illustration, so this is a comment. So let's say you have a room, let me say a room number. Then inside this room you have some students inside. Now a variable here, or an identifier instead of variable, if it is called an identifier, you are still right. So room number is actually the variable here, and the value here is students. Now this means the equality sign here means that you are assigning a value to a variable. Now in a case of practical examples, if we use something like this, which I know is not actually correct because it has to be a string. Now if you print out this, you must get this. Just like, okay, if I want to go to room so, let's say room number 1 or something, then there must be a certain student in that room, just like that. And I'm going to demonstrate this, how to use a variable across all these 4 programming languages. Now, how do we create a variable in Python? Just like I did here. So let me just use something like student name or something. Then I'm going to use let me use John. Now as you can see over here, this is just like, this is declaration of variable. Now the variable over here is student's name. As you can see, when I overload it, you can see variable student name literal to be John, which means the value is John. Now, this value you see over here is actually a string. How do you know a string? Because it is either a single quote or a double quote. Now, this is a valid variable. Now, if I do something like print student name and I run this, then I should be able to get John, as you can see here. This is John over here. Now, same thing if you are trying to use it in a JavaScript. Now for this one, I'm going to use a const student name to be John. Now, instead of double quote, I can use single quotes, as you can see, like I said the other time. Now, a single quote, then over here, I'm going to do a console.log student name. Now, if I come over here and I cd it to my lesson 2, then I do node variable.js, then I should be able to get John, as you can see over here. Now, the next one I'm going to be trying is going to be my JavaScript. So I'm going to try to, in the JavaScript part, remember I said for you to be able to know that this is a string, then it must be quoted. Now, there are conventions in creating a string or any data types in Java. So for this case, we'll be using a string. Since our value is going to be a string, then I'm going to use the same thing, which is student name to be equals to John, to be John. Now don't forget, you have to close it, and to print this out, you need to do a system dot out, then dot print line. Then what are we printing? We are printing the student name. Now if I run this same code, then I should be able to get John over here, just as simple as that. While the last one is going to be a C++. So the first thing we need to do is hash include IO stream, that is input and output stream. The next line, using namespace, std, then int main function. Then inside this, I can now start my C++ code. Now remember, when you are declaring for a JavaScript, the word string starts with a capital letter S. Now in this case, your string value is going to be in lowercase. So I'm going to do student name to be equals to John, just like that. Then I'm getting no suitable constructor exists from int to standard. Hold on. Okay. Now this no suitable constructor error. Remember, I said you can use either single quotes or double quotes. Now, unlike any other programming languages, that your string can be a single quote, but in this case, it has to be a double quote. So that is the reason why there is an error on this part. Then I don't need to put that over there. Now for me to print this out, I need to see out, then I'm going to do student name, something like this. And once I have that, I already have my lesson 2 path. Then I'm going to do G++, then the file name, which is variable .cpp, then this, and the file name again without the extension, that is variable. Then I'm going to run this. Now once I run this and it's successful, it's going to create another file for me over here, and instead of writing any other code, I'm just going to do /variable .exe, and when I run this, I should be able to get John over here. Now you can see just a basic way of writing a variable across different programming languages, but there are some certain rules that you need to put in place, because a variable, there are rules and things to put in place before you form a variable name. For instance, let's say I'm doing 2 students, something like this. This is actually not a valid variable. And how do we know what a valid variable is? The first thing is it can contain a letter. Let me try to make it use a comment. It can contain letters, digits, and underscore. Now what this is actually saying is that instead of, now the convention of this variable name I used is actually a camel case, because these are actually 2 words. You can see student and name. Now what camel case is that the first word is going to be lowercase, while the second word first letter is going to be in uppercase. So that is exactly what it is. Now most time you can just separate it and just make it something like student underscore name. Now data type is case sensitive. Thank God this actually showed this error over here. Now I use student underscore name, but while I'm printing it out, I use the last variable I used, so which is actually wrong. For instance, if you do something like student is let's say Samson or something, and while you are trying to print it, you are doing something like student or something like student. Now you can see automatically once I type something, a variable that does not even exist, you can see what error is showing. Students is not defined. But there are some programming languages that won't even show you all this error. Now the reason why I'm getting this error is because I installed a Pylance. There is an extension that actually brings this error related to Python. So that's the reason I'm getting this error. Now for those who don't have it installed, you might not see this error until you run your program. That is when it's going to show you the real error you are encountering. Now what you need to do is that just make sure that the variable you are declaring is the same thing you are using. Now for me not to make this tutorial too long, I'm going to be cutting it short and just continue from the next one, because we still have a lot to discuss on variable. Now I'm going to give you a task, which is just basically creating 10 variable names yourself. So when I come back, then I'm going to complete the rules. Thank you.